It's very good.
Sherlock Holmes and Aladdin fame director Guy Ritchie is back with a new action-packed comedy spy movie named The Ministry of Ungentlemanly Warfare. Set in a backdrop of World War II, the film takes you on an undercover mission like no other, as we explore the film as well as its influences. Before we go into our explanation, we have a very small request. If you like our content, please support us by subscribing to our channel. This is a small click for you, but for us, it means a lot. Thank you, and let's begin. The Ministry of Ungentlemanly Warfare. What is it all about? British Prime Minister Winston Churchill decided to gather a group of men who would help cut off the German supply from the U-boat. The mission, being unauthorized, unsanctioned, and unofficial, ran the risk of the people involved being jailed if they were to be captured by the British or to be tortured and killed if the Nazis captured them. Recently incarcerated Major Gus March-Phillipps was recruited by the Special Operations Executive (SOE) to lead a mission of sinking the Duchess d'Aosta, an Italian ship being used by the Germans at a small island called Fernando Po. Gus would be posing to be a fisherman who just happened to be sailing down the west coast carrying a trawler full of explosives to sink the ship. Gus also met two other SOE agents who would be helping him in the mission. Mr. Richard Herron run established businesses such as a casino bar and illegal exports game on the island of Fernando Po, with high-ranking Nazi officials being his valuable clients, and Marjorie Stewart, a Jewish actress and singer whose parents were killed by the Nazis during their initial undertaking of Germany and had trained under the SOE as an agent for over 2 years. Marjorie was going to be posing as a New Yorker gold trader who would distract the island's commanding officer, Heinrich Lohr. With only 40 days before the Germans would move the ship, Gus proposed a group of 4 other men he wanted on his team for the mission. The first was Henry Hayes, an Irishman who hated the Nazis because of them being responsible for his older brother's death and was also an excellent sailor. Next was Freddie Alvarez, or Freddie, the Bud's frogman with impeccable swimming skills and a penchant for blowing things up. Third was Anders Laysen, or the Danish Hammer, who had grown up wrestling bears and hunting elk on his family estate and was also marvelously skilled with a Bowie knife as well as a bow and arrow. He had run away from home at the age of 18 to fight the Nazis after his brother was tortured to death by the Gestapo. Finally, Jeffrey Appleyard, who was already sent to Fernando Po for investigation and was captured by the Nazis on his way back. Gus still wanted Jeffrey and his team due to his master planning skills and decided to recruit him after freeing him from German captivity. Gus, Henry, Freddie, and Anders then made their first stop on the island of La Palma, where Jeffrey was being held captive and managed to free him by killing the entire German military unit along with blowing up the location. Meanwhile, Richard and Marjorie, while traveling to Fernando Po by train, confirmed the shipments of the Duchess d'Aosta by stealing information from a group of German military officers. Upon reaching the island, the duo faced their first shock as they noticed the number of military officers to be a lot more than they had earlier expected, with Marjorie pointing out that Gus's team would need more manpower for the mission, and Richard taking the responsibility for it. Richard then took Marjorie to meet Heinrich Lohr, who is initially resistant to working with Marjorie, ended up giving in to Marjorie's charms. Richard soon revealed to Marjorie his plan of throwing 2 separate parties, a costume party for the German officers at his club and a party at the dock for the soldiers to keep them distracted from the mission taking place. But he gave Marjorie the responsibility to convince Heinrich to attend the party and also to keep him occupied during the time. After reaching Richard's casino, Richard also discovered that the Duchess d'Aosta would be leaving the island 3 days earlier than expected. This information turned out a bit risky for the group of men, as they would have to take up a shorter route, putting them at risk of being mowed down by a German U-boat or being discovered by British Navy ships. Despite the risk, the team took the route and ended up being confronted by a British Navy officer who ordered them to put an end to their unauthorized mission and asked them to board the ship. Though luckily, due to a sudden German bomb dropping, the team was able to escape from the British Navy and continued the journey to Fernando Po. Meanwhile, at the island, Richard took Marjorie to meet the prince of the island, Kambili Kalu, or KB, whom Richard had planned to ask for help in their mission. KB ended up agreeing to help Richard due to his hatred for the Nazis, and soon met up with Gus and his team along with a team of 12 of his best men and extra weapons. The night of the mission was finally upon them, but another twist was awaiting the group when Marjorie, while talking to a friend of Heinrich, found out that the Duchess d'Aosta was plated with more metal, rendering their explosives useless against the heavy ship. Churchill's mission plans were also found out by the British military, who ordered Gus and his team to stop the mission along with threatening Churchill to be kicked out of the Prime Minister's office. Twist or triumph, decoding the ministry's final act. Gus and his team, despite the official orders, decided to go forward with their mission, with Geoffrey coming up with a new plan to steal the boat instead of sinking it and handing it over to the British Navy. The team then put their plan into motion, with Geoffrey along with KB's men infiltrating the Duchess d'Aosta while Freddy was setting up explosives on the S-boats, which the German soldiers were most likely to use to go after the ship after noticing it being stolen. Gus took out the patrolling officers around the harbor while Anders had set up explosives on the ship's anchors to allow KB's boats to move it. With most of the plan going accordingly, two particular events turned out to create some problems for the group when the S-boat explosives went off sooner than expected. At the same time, Marjorie's Jewish status was exposed due to her speaking Yiddish during her performance at the party. Thankfully for Marjorie, due to the explosion, Heinrich didn't capture her inside, but rather took her to the harbor with her hands in shackles. With the soldiers arriving at the harbor, it was not long before firing started from the German side as well as Gus's side, with Henry even sustaining injury during it. Marjorie was able to shoot Heinrich in his head with her hidden gun, and Richard quickly arrived to her rescue as the two made their way to Gus's boat. Despite time running out, they were able to reach Gus's boat and soon informed the nearest British Navy ship about the Duchess d'Aosta. Unfortunately for the team though, once the handover was done, they were soon arrested for their actions and were taken to prison, except for KB, who was asked to return to his land with his men. After being kept in prison for 4 weeks, the team was paid a visit by Winston Churchill, who revealed that their actions had allowed the United States to join the war alongside Britain. With their handcuffs being taken off, Churchill revealed that they had been hired to work under him from there on forward. Is it a true story? The Ministry of Ungentlemanly Warfare has been adapted for the 2014 non-fiction book Churchill's Secret Warriors, the explosive true story of the Special Forces desperados of World War II by author Damien Lewis. The events of the book chronicles 1 year into World War II when British Prime Minister Winston Churchill helped in the creation of the Special Operations Executive SOE. The task force was created by the merger of 3 different British intelligence services: GS, created by the British War Office, Department EH, tasked with creating propaganda, and Section D, formed by the SIS MI6. Hugh Dalton, the Minister of Economic Warfare, was put in charge of the new division from a political standpoint, with Sir Frank Nelson becoming the first director. The SOE finally came to be in July 1940 with a movie focusing on their first mission, titled Operation Postmaster. During its years of operation, there were over 13,000 members. The SOE received strong support from Churchill, with the name Churchill's Toy Shop being the nickname for the location of the SOE's weapons development. Difference between true story and movie. The Ministry of Ungentlemanly Warfare took quite a few liberties with the material they had. At the beginning of World War II, the course was changed by Winston Churchill using more irregular warfare, leading to the birth of Black Ops. The Special Operations Executive SOE, also known as Churchill's Secret Army, started to carry out espionage, sabotage, and reconnaissance. Churchill especially ordered one of the SOE's commandos to be the Small-Scale Raiding Force SSRF No. 62 Commando. Operation Postmaster was SSRF's first mission, where the team boarded German and Italian ships into Fernando Po harbor on the 14th of January 1942, the plan being to steal these Axis vessels and sail them to Lagos. It was also a politically controversial raid due to being seen as a breach of Spanish neutrality due to Fernando Po being one of its colonies. The mission started in August 1941 as the search for desired submarines went on for months. Only 30 minutes had passed without any losses between the beginning and the end of the raid, as the ship's officers were occupied at an event arranged by one of the SOE agents. The success of Operation Postmaster was seen as a sign of the SOE's ability to execute undercover missions. What happened to the major characters in real life? Major Gus March-Phillipps, played by Henry Cavill in the movie, was awarded with a Distinguished Service Order for heading Operation Postmaster by the King in 1942. He was also appointed to be a member of the Order of the British Empire. He married SOE agent Marjorie Stewart soon after Operation Postmaster and died during Operation aqua tint in September 1942. Major Gus was believed to be the real-life inspiration for the popular and fictional British Secret Service agent James Bond, created by writer Ian Fleming. Marjorie Stewart, played by Eiza Gonzalez in the movie, also continued serving the SOE as an agent throughout the Second World War. She would later star in movies like The Master Plan, The Weak and the Wicked, along with starring in West End plays. Captain Anders Lassen, played by Alan Richardson, was also awarded the Military Cross for his part in Operation Postmaster, along with being promoted to the position of captain. Following this, he was also the only non-Commonwealth recipient of the Victoria Cross, Great Britain's highest medal given for military valor during World War II. This made him the most decorated member of the SOE and Special Air Service (SAS). Captain Anders became a member of the 2nd SAS, rising to the rank of Major. During Operation Roast, he died in Italy in 1945 at the age of 24. Captain John Jeffrey Appleyard, played by Alex Pettifer, was an all-rounder athlete and an impeccable skier as per the newspapers. Following Operation Postmaster, Captain John went on numerous missions like Operation Basalt, and only 2 weeks after receiving his military cross, he was also awarded with the Distinguished Service Order in December 1942. Captain Graham Hayes, on whom the character Henry Hayes was based, played by Hero Fiennes Tiffin, was awarded the Military Cross for his contribution to Operation Postmaster. Captain Graham took part in Operation Aqua Tint alongside Major Gus, but the mission didn't go according to the plan, making him one of only 4 out of the 11-man team to escape a German patrol in Normandy. Captain Graham then made his escape but was captured again, being in solitary confinement for some 9 months, following which he was executed by firing squad on the 13th of July 1943. Ian Fleming, writer of James Bond, was portrayed by Freddie Fox and worked for Britain's Naval Intelligence Division during World War II, supervising 2 intelligence units, 30 Assault Unit or No. 30 Commando, and T-Force. He also supervised the distribution of intelligence to Royal Navy units ahead of Operation Overlord. He was also in charge of Operation GoldenEye from 1941 to 1942, maintaining an intelligence framework in neutral Spain in case of invasion by the Nazis. Brigadier Colin Gubbins was played by Cary Elwes in the movie, and he served in World War I, the Russian Civil War, and the Irish War of Independence. He became chief of the Special Operations Executive during the Second World War. Gubbins was also responsible for setting up secret auxiliary units based around a home guard, monitoring the flanks and rear of any invading German army in the United Kingdom. Marvelous verdict. The Ministry of Ungentlemanly Warfare is really a spy thriller like no other, filled with comedy and charisma, despite being based on a real-life event. The movie captures your attention the moment you start watching, as you follow the charismatic actors and their unique chemistry with each other. Despite the movie's events being slightly altered to create tension, the characters makes it worth watching the movie. And with the added context of what actually went down during the real events, the movie, rather than becoming a suspense, does a better job of just letting you enjoy the fictional adaptation of the events. None of the characters or plot threads overstay their welcome, making the film a breath of fresh air, which you can definitely enjoy at least for a one-time watch. As always, if you like the content, don't forget to leave a like and subscribe to us if you haven't already. Have a good one and be safe. Thanks, everyone.